Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss a disease associated with the veins of our body, and the disease is known as varicose vein. Varicose vein especially affects the veins which lie in the lower limb. As we all know that the blood travels in the vein towards the heart, and as these veins carry blood against the gravity, so any impairment or a dysfunction in the carrying capacity of the veins may lead to stagnation of blood in the veins, and this stagnation in veins can further lead to entanglement or clustering of veins, and that condition clinically is known as varicose vein. But before we start up, let's look into the definition. So, how do you define it? Varicose vein are veins that have been distended over long time, and they are tortuous and dilated veins of the superficial varicose system due to pooling of blood in the lower extremities. So, as I explained, so there is an excessive dilatation and they become tortuous, they become quite visible due to stagnation of blood in the lower limbs. But before we start to look into the pathogenesis of varicose vein, first thing we need to understand is the normal anatomy of veins located in the lower limbs. So the legs are made up of a network of veins that carry blood to the heart. And let me remind you here on that this transportation of blood in the veins is anti-gravity. So the venous system of the legs is comprised of superficial vein, which is a long saphenous vein and short saphenous vein. Also we have deep veins like femoral vein, popliteal, peroneal, anterior tibial vein, and posterior tibial. Connecting the superficial and the deep veins, we have perforating vein, whereas 90% of the blood is returned to the deep veins and not by the superficial vein. So it could be the transportation between the superficial and the deep veins by these perforating veins. So to understand the perforating veins, we have their types like the direct perforating veins. They directly connect the superficial vein with the deep vein. In thighs, the adductor canal perforator connects saphenous with femoral vein in the lower part of adductor canal, which is known as the Hunterian's perforator. In the lower thigh, the medial aspect, long saphenous vein connects femoral vein via Dodd's profiter, and below knee, perforator connects long saphenous vein or the posterior arch vein with the posterior tibial vein known as the Boyd's perforator. In legs, lateral perforator is present at the junction of mid and the lower third of the leg. It connects the saphenous vein with the peroneal vein. Medially, there are three perforators which connects posterior arch vein with the posterior tibial vein known as the Cockett's perforator. The upper medial perforator lie at the junction of middle and lower third of the leg. Middle medial perforator lies 4 inch above the medial malleolus, and the medial and the lower medial perforator lies posterior inferior to the medial malleus. So here are the locations and easily correlate the Hunterian dots, boils, and pockets perforator. A very important point to note here is that these perforator do transport the superficial blood to the deeper tissues, and which in turn plays a major role of transporting blood to the heart. Also, an important thing that we have already studied the structures in the anatomy. That was all about the direct perforating veins. Now we have some indirect perforating veins. These consist of small superficial veins which penetrate the deep fascias to connect with the vessels in the muscle and in turn end in the deep vein. So they do not directly connect with the superficial and the deep vein. Rather, they are superficial veins which will penetrate deep inside and then end up in the deep vein. So, blood is drained from the superficial to deep vein of the legs through perforating veins, that is quite clear to us, and through the deep veins they will be carried to the heart. Although the backflow of the blood is impossible due to the presence of valves located at frequent intervals in the vein, but any defect in the valve located in the veins would further lead into flow of blood in the opposite direction, and that is what will cause a stagnation of blood. So this is a diagram which will help you to understand how the superficial vein are connected with the deep vein, and how these peripheral veins which connect the superficial and deep vein. Also, one more thing to understand, that muscles do act as a localized pumping machine, we can say a localized pump, which pushes or helps the anti-gravitational movement of blood towards the heart. So the normal movement of blood would be anti-gravitational towards the heart, and in case you come across a defect in the valve which will oppose the direction, or which will not allow the blood to go towards the heart, leads into development of varicose vein. Now let us understand these valves. The venous valves are abundant in the distal lower extremity, and as we move proximal to the central body, the number of valves will decrease, with no valves in the superior and inferior vena cava. These valves are a delicate structure which prevents the reverse flow of blood in the vein. They also ensure that the blood is pumped from the superficial to the deep system and back to the heart when the patient is walking. So this was all about the normal structure. Now let us look into the etiology of varicose vein, where we have classified the first category as the primary varicose vein. The development of primary varicose vein can be result of defect in the saphenofemoral valve, saphenopopliteal valve, or any defect in the valve of the perforators. Secondary varicose vein, anything that increases intra-abdominal pressure, which won't allow the blood traveling to the deeper veins and provide more resistance to the flow of blood towards the heart, or a rise in the pressure in the superficial or deep vein. It might also be secondary to pregnancy, obesity, any abdominal or pelvic mass, uh, like the conditions like ascites, uh, also any abnormal enlarged mass or heavy bulk mass in the pelvic or the abdominal cavity. Old age, and it is also a disease of senile age. As the age progresses, this might also develop. It is also a result of long standing. So, the professions or the people who are exposed to continuous standing do also suffer from varicose vein. And also thrombosis of leg veins. There may also be certain congenital causes like atriovenous fistulas, which might also result. So this fistula would be an opening between the arteries and the vein, and obviously, as we know that there is more pressure of blood in the arteries as compared to the veins. So if there is a development of fistula, or congenitally, if an opening is present between both these structures, more pressurized blood from the arteries will go into the veins, and obviously that will increase the pressure in the veins. Now, what clinical features do we have? The very first clinical sign that the patient complains of, that is heaviness in the legs. Nighttime cramps, dragging pain, postural discomfort, edema, itching, discoloration, and ulceration. So, if we can grade these symptoms according to the duration or the, you can say, how recent is the development of varicose vein. The very first complaint that patient comes up with the heavy is in the heaviness in the legs. So, like we can take in a case example of this, that person who has this job of standing continuously or is an obese person, the patient will first feel this discomfort of heaviness in legs, and that heaviness will eventually subside with over the night. That is when the patient sleeps. So there is no anti-gravitational movement, or the gravity action becomes less. It's a patient lying in a laid position, followed by symptoms like night cramps, dragging pain, and postural discomfort. And obviously, the patient who is continuously sitting or hanging his legs down. So, this person will say that if the person doesn't move or keeps his legs hanging down, patient suffers from discomfort or heaviness in legs. The further development would be engorgement of veins or tortuous distended veins. Also, edema would be seen as the blood is not able to move too swiftly. So there would be stagnation of blood, and that would lead into localized edema. It might also cause itching, discoloration, and ulceration as the intensity of the disease increases. So I think so. This pictorial diagram is giving you a fair enough idea that how varicose vein develops. Now, what are the causes of pain? So it's very strange that if the blood is not moving swiftly or with the pace that it should be moving, it causes pain. And why? What is the reason for that pain? Is uh, anoxia. First is anoxia. It is the patient would be feeling, no, not the patient would be feeling, as the blood has been stagnant for quite a long time and it's in venous blood, so the content of oxygen has already reduced, and longer it stays, its oxygen concentration deprives. Second, hyperviscosity or red cells will uh, form Rayleigh's formation will occur, and that causes hyperviscosity. The blood becomes more thicker there. And chronic venous hypertension, platelet aggregation, capillary functional disorders, and altered cutaneous microcirculation will lead to this pain. We can also see into the complications of varicose vein, as hemorrhage. If these veins gets over distended, then it might lead to rupture of these veins. Pigmentation, there is a dark pigmentation can be seen in the areas of varicose vein, and also it can further be associated with eczema, that is dermatitis. Periostitis is related to the bones, venous ulcers, lipodermatosclerosis, deep vein thrombosis, that is DVT, and thrombophlebitis are some of the complications that can be associated with varicose vein. So this is how the eczema of varicose veins will look like. They will have a typical location associated with engorged vein, and you can easily localize that this was the area of development of varicose vein, and the same place you'll be finding dermatitis or the eczema. This is how the varicose ulcers would look like. Slow oozing ulcers. Now, depending on the classification, as I said, initially the patient will have the other symptoms, and as the case will progress and the stagnation of blood continues for a long period of time, we have categorized it into several categories. Like, C0 to C6, we have given them numeration. So in C0, no visible or palpable sign of venous disease. So what is the visible? That is, you don't see it with your naked eyes that the veins are distended or engorged. And also, there are no palpable signs. That is, if you examine the legs of the patient, you won't find any veins engorged like this. In C1 stage, what you find is telangiectasia or reticular veins, where we see it's palpable that the veins have been engorged. In C2, we do state that the varicose vein has developed, but it's presenting without the symptoms. Then in C3, we get edema. In C4, we are divided in two parts. That is, skin changes due to venous disorders, that is pigmentation and eczema will come up, and skin changes due to venous disorders like lipodermatosclerosis might develop. In C4, C5, the conditions are that is both skin changes have occurred, but with healed ulcer. But in C6, skin changes with an active ulcer, that is ulcer is active, and venous insufficiency ulcer develops. That is an active ulcer. It's an oozing ulcer can be seen. It's not healed up. So these are all the stages of varicose vein. So now about the investigations. We'll look into the investigation and the management associated with varicose vein in the second part of varicose vein.